Hello everyone, this is Phillip playing the Faery Tale Adventure. This was originally released for the Amiga system. This is the EGA DOS port. There's also a CGA port. It's a fairly faithful representation. The graphics are not quite as good because Amiga, I believe it's split into two sections on the screen. One is 64 colors and one is 16 colors with a higher resolution. At the beginning, we have your standard copy protection scheme. On the map that came with the game, which I'll put up for you, remember, there was around the edge of it little poem rhyming couplets, and this is to fill in the words from the couplets. Rescue the talisman was the mayor's plea. So the story here is the land of Holm has fallen on hard times. There are ogres and goblins and undead ravaging the countryside. The king's daughter has been kidnapped, so he's kind of having trouble getting anything done. He's in a funk and not helping much. The Vermilion Knight that was supposed to protect the lands has gone missing, and the talisman that protected the village of Tambry has been stolen. So it is your mission as the three brothers, Julian, Phillip, and Kevin, to try to go out and bring back the talisman and, you know, hopefully save the world and all that. It's called Faery Tale Adventure, as that suggests. It is based on fairy tales, or the general concept thereof. I'll speed up the emulated CPU a little for this to run smoother. You can also walk somewhat faster like that. You have your basic 8-directional movement. You can also use a joypad or mouse. You'll see in the bottom right there's a arrow, bow and arrow. That is your mouse cursor. So if I click in here, you can click on the compass to move. You can click on the menus to do various things. I'm a lot more used to controlling with a keyboard that also gives you immediate access to most of your actions and items. For instance, I for inventory. You start with basically nothing. You have a dagger to protect yourself. Right mouse button held down or pressing the insert key or 0 on your number pad will go into combat mode. So starting out, you have very little, as I mentioned. What you can do is explore the houses. If you look from the mouse menu or press question mark on the keyboard, you can find hidden items in a number of the houses. Take from item menu or T on the keyboard to pick them up. You notice the houses there's a straw bedding. Your character does get tired over time, and you need to periodically rest to avoid passing out in the open, which is, of course, a bad thing. You're kind of vulnerable to the monsters like that. It's a jade skull. And I think the house at the bottom had arrows. Of course, to use arrows, you need a bow, but might as well take them. There. In the fireplace. Most hidden items are in fireplaces for some reason. Over here we have the village tavern. Here you can buy various supplies. You can talk to NPCs with A for ask or S for say. That's also in the talk menu if you're using the menus. Tavern keepers don't have anything interesting to say. You can buy supplies for them, which include weapons if you have enough money, healing vials. Mostly you need food from them, because your character does get hungry. If your character gets too hungry, they'll start losing health over time, and if they get really hungry, they'll start staggering. Instead of moving in a straight line very quickly, they'll kind of pull to the sides, and okay, this is bad. Here we have a bowman. Bowmen are always a pain. I got lucky there because he got confused. If you get up right next to them, they'll sometimes forget that they can back off, which lets you, yeah. But yeah, bowmen are always a pain. No matter how strong you get, they can still kill you. So as far as getting strong, at the bottom there, in the bottom right, you have 5 attributes your character has. The first one is bravery. That is a measure of your combat prowess. The higher that gets, the easier it is to kill things, the harder it is for them to kill you. Each time you kill an enemy, bravery goes up 1. Okay, this is going pretty well. Wraiths are one of the more dangerous types of enemies. They will pass straight through walls, are completely unaffected by terrain. They also have a fairly powerful attack. I got kind of lucky there. Having a mace rather than a dagger does help. There are 3 melee weapons, the third is a sword. Sword is basically the best weapon you'll ever get. This isn't like a roguelike or a Diablo where there are different qualities of weapons. You get a dirk, a mace, and a sword, and a bow. And later on a magic wand. And if you either have it or you don't. The music I find is rather nice. It's the best music you'll ever hear on a PC speaker, basically. The original Amiga version had better quality music also. It was meant specifically for the system's capabilities. There's some sacks. Sacks will contain random items. Combat is also directional, so you need to face your enemy for best results. If you're not facing them, you'll take more damage and inflict less. And if you forget to attack, you'll be killed pretty quickly at this point. If you're killed, a fairy comes along and revives you, but your luck drops by 5. If you run out of luck, you're just dead, and then the next character has to take over some months later. Again, combat is directional, so it helps to try to line up as best you can, either horizontally or vertically. Once you've killed an enemy, you can loot their body for items. Wraiths are the biggest pain there as well, because their bodies are little piles of cloth that disappear after a while. Also, even when they have items, you will often fail to find it, so at least on this port, the best thing you can do is to spam your take key until you get something. I'm not sure if that's specific to the DOS port or not. At least in the video I watched of the Amiga playthrough, the person playing never tried to search repeatedly, so either that's not something you can do in that version, or they just didn't know about it. Here we have a lake, there's water. Your character cannot swim. If you get onto the water, you start drowning. You'll lose vitality very quickly. You run out, as long as you have luck, your fairy will come along and revive you. Let's just run out of luck to demo what happens. Julian was drowned in the water. Unfortunately, his luck had run out. So Phillip set out. Phillip, the second brother, was lucky and clever, as the intro says, and he starts with a high luck, 35. That gives him an unusually large amount of revivals. So what happens is, you start as another brother, you have just your starting weapon again, you have no combat experience. Julian is the best fighter, and there's his body. Not a convenient place to leave it. So when one of the brothers dies, the next brother out can find his body to retrieve his inventory. If you didn't have much, it's not that important, but there are a number of key items in the game, and you don't want to lose those. So I have a series of saves prepared to demonstrate a few more things, so I'll load from save. So there is a day-night system. When it starts getting darker, you get these washed-out colors. When it's evening, you can't really see as well. And when it gets full on night, you get a very low color. You can't see that well at all. And it's especially difficult to distinguish the different monster types from each other. Let's see, do I have any? Yes, if you have green jewels, you can use those at night to get a neat false color effect. Again, on the Amiga version, the whole nighttime thing is handled better. It gets a gradual fade to darkness, and it's just dimmer colors at night. And if you use the green jewels in that version, you get a red-tinted kind of night vision, infravision effect. Here, I'm not sure what's going on with the palette. They just kind of change the colors around. EGA graphics do have customizable palettes, but that's something that was relatively uncommon to actually see. I'm not sure if it was difficult to do, or if it was only available in certain modes, or people just didn't realize it was there, but instead of changing the palette as nights gets darker, it just goes to lower color versions of, less colorful version of the same colors. Here's some wraiths again. Do I have bird totems? Yes, bird totems are one of the most useful items you can have. It's the blue bird looking thing. These are useful for exploring. If I use a bird totem... wrong. Yes, it gives you an aerial view of your surroundings. This is the only in-game map you have. I would have liked if the game had like an auto map that would fill in as you explore, but that's kind of beyond its time. The fact that you have something like this at all is kind of remarkable in itself. Anyway, I'll jump ahead a little further. Okay, this is in the mountains south of Marheim, the capital. This is one of the places you need to go, items you need to get. Here there is this black figure. If you can best him in combat, he allows you entry to the shrine here. In the shrine, you find a sunstone. The sunstone is one of those special items you can get. I also have a shell I got by rescuing turtles' eggs from snakes. The turtle will let you cross water. Anyway, jump ahead a little more. So this is in the heart of the forest of Grimwood. In the middle of the forest here, it's a maze. It's long and complicated. You really want a map if you can get one. But at the center of the forest, there is the witch's castle. The witch has a nasty death glare, as you can see there. What you want to do is you use the sunstone. The sunstone makes her vulnerable. It's also supposed to make her lose control of the death stare. It doesn't seem to that much on the PC version, but basically you close in, kill her, you get a golden lasso. The golden lasso is used to... You'll find on an island in the southwest there's a golden swan. If you have the lasso, you can ride the swan. Riding the swan lets you fly. That, of course, is extremely convenient for exploring and getting around, and is required to get to at least one place. There's a place called the Forbidden Keep that is surrounded completely by mountains. You have to land on the roof to get in. That's where the princess is held captive. If you rescue her, the king gives you a reward and a writ that lets you get one of the 5 golden statues you need to do something else later on. Anyway, here is the mysterious Pixel Grove. I believe that's supposed to look like Pixie Grove. This is one of the most frustrating places in the game, because it's in this out-of-the-way place in the middle of the forest. It has a unique and obviously interesting structure, and it looks like it should be something important, or at least have some kind of secret. But as far as anyone can tell, there's just absolutely nothing here. It's just a weird structure that does nothing. It's not required for anything, it doesn't seem to have any secrets, it's just kind of there. That's one of the problems with the game, is there are some things that are just kind of there. And there's a huge world to explore, but a lot of the locations are just not important or even as interesting as this. There's a lot of repetition in the greater world. As you can tell, probably just by looking at it, there is a tile-based setup here. The whole world is tile-based. Also, the greater world itself is big tiles of tiles, so there will be repetitions of the same types of terrain. One of the game files has a tile map of the whole, big tiles of the universe. If you're able to kind of import that into a bitmap image with the right dimensions, you can actually see the shape of the map built up there. I'll put that on screen if I remember. Anyway, next load, I believe, was F? Yes. This is one of the places you need to come. Up in the Mountains of Frost in the northwest, there's this cave. Inside the cave, at first it's just a twisting tunnel, a fairly nondescriptive large cave. This is another place you want to map, or at least want to map it out as you're playing. So, forked intersection, there's an archer. Fortunately, the archer was not smart enough to back off and shoot. Here we go. Here's a dragon. For the dragon, you want to use another inventory item, the gold ring. The gold ring will temporarily stop time. You can use that to pass by the dragon safely. I kind of get caught on the dragon while trying to move. The dragon has some rather loud, spammy noises. The Amiga version original, unsurprisingly, had higher quality sounds, but I'm kind of fond of the, PC speaker blips and bops of this version. Might just be because I'm used to it, but I don't know, there's just something kind of satisfying about the combat noises. Okay, so where was I going? I do have a map of this, I don't currently have the map up, so may get a little lost. There's a treasure chest. Treasure chests you may find in various places, including out in the overworld. Same thing with sacks, and in some places urns. If you pick one up or take, you'll get the contents, but the contents are randomly chosen at the time you open it. As you may have noticed there, if your bravery gets high enough, I'm up in the 400s now, you're basically immune to most enemies. Archers can still hurt and kill you, but common enemies, they can come right next to you, they can't even scratch you. You can sometimes even attack them when you're facing the wrong direction. That's how powerful your combat prowess can get. I think what's going on is you have a damage radius, and as you get stronger, the radius increases, and their damage radius decreases. Oh yeah, you'll notice in some places there are these rooms that appear to be completely unenterable. There's another item for that. There's crystal orbs, which will reveal hidden doors. Those are, of course, locked. I think basically every door in this game is locked, unless it's open to begin with. But you have a number of keys in 6 different colors. The DOS version also gives them different shapes, because the CGA version is 4-color and can't display 6 different colors at the same time. So to help you tell them apart, they give them different shapes. I'm kind of wasting time here. There is a magic wand. There are actually 2 magic wands in here, but since I don't have the map up, I don't remember where they are. So, I'll just jump to the next save. The Burning Waste. There's a desert in the west. You'll notice I have all 5 golden statues on the right there. With all 5 golden statues, the hidden city of Azal will appear in the desert. If you come here without the statues, there's just sand. Here we have a beggar. Beggars ask for money. If you give them money, they'll give you various hints. That can also raise your kindness, so I'll do that a few times. I believe it's random, and the higher it is, the less chance it has to keep going up. Kindness doesn't have much use. I think all it does is if it gets really low, which can happen if you start killing people. If it gets really low, then people won't help you. Some people, you do need them to help you. So in this house, there is a rose. You can take the rose. The rose seems insignificant. For some reason, having the rose let you walk across lava. Not really sure why. Okay, that's back in Tambria. I'll just jump to the final dungeon. This is the mysterious astral plane within the Necromancer Citadel. To get in here, you need the rose to cross the lava, at least in theory. I don't actually have it on the save because there's a little glitch where lava is basically water, except that it kills you quickly. So if you summon the turtle when just the edge of the lava is visible, the turtle will come into the lava. You can use the turtle to cross it. You need the crystal shard, which is at bottom left there, to get through a barrier that's inside the castle. That you get by finding a bone in the tombs of Hemsouth, trading it to a wraith that's in the graveyard. Also, you're supposed to need the magic wand to kill a necromancer, as I will shortly demonstrate. That's not really necessary. I'll demo a little of the astral plane here. There are different colored floors with different textures in case you can't see the color. These blue floors have ice physics, which is interesting because it has a momentum-based thing. The swan flight in the Amiga version seems to work on exactly the same momentum-based system, and you can only land if you're flying slowly enough. In the DOS EGA version, the swan goes full speed all the time, changes direction to the 8 cardinal directions instantly, so I'm not sure why they didn't use that there. This floor, although you can't see it, controls are reversed. In the Amiga version, your character will actually face the direction you're pressing and walk the other way, so you get moonwalking. This is one of the few places where you get different enemies. For most of the game, the enemies are the same no matter where you go, so it's kind of lacking a sense of progression in that sense, which is kind of a shame. Also, the music in here. In the Amiga version, this music plays at night outside. In the DOS version, the night music is the same. Even the Commodore 64 version, which is, in most regards, vastly inferior in terms of graphics, sound, performance, everything else, even that reuses the title screen music at night, so I'm not sure why the DOS version doesn't have different music at night. It's kind of a mystery. So you're supposed to use the magic wand to kill him. If you have a bow and enough arrows, that works. So you slay the necromancer. I'm not sure how you're supposed to pronounce that. I've heard either way. Anyway, he drops the talisman, you take the talisman, and you win. Another oddity there. There is supposed to be a message about, coming back home and wedding the princess who you rescued from the keep earlier. And all that. It just seems to skip right over that. I think the text is in the game files. It just doesn't display it for some reason. And now for a little bonus content. I mentioned that there is a CGA DOS version in addition to the EGA version. And here's the CGA version. Score steed. So we are racing here. Because the much simpler graphics engine means there's less processing to do, so the game can afford to go faster. Now, as you can see, it's basically the same game. The graphics are obviously vastly inferior, but other than that, it's not that different. Which is what you'd expect. You'd expect the coding to be identical other than the graphics. Weirdly enough, that's not the case. So, as I mentioned, the Swan in the Amiga version has kind of a momentum-based system going. The CGA version doesn't quite have that, but it does have two different speeds. If you're going slow, you press the direction again to go faster. If you're going fast, you can press it again to go slower. It's rather different from the normal momentum-based system that's in Amiga and the later Sega Genesis version. But yeah, you do have two different speeds here, which is not a thing in the EGA version, and I'm not sure why they changed it. It's baffling, really. Anyway, as in the Amiga version, if you're going full speed, you can't land. So you have to slow down, and then you can land. Again, it's just not sure why they do that. And as I mentioned, 4 colors, you can't display all the different key colors, so they have different shapes to make up for that. That, frankly, is something that should be done anyway, just in case there's a low color situation or someone who has impaired color vision. It's just something that developers, until fairly recently, didn't think about. Anyway, this has been Arafellan playing the Faery Tale Adventure, which has a massive world that you can spend weeks exploring before you even start to figure out what you're supposed to do, unless you have a walkthrough, which has an appeal of its own. If you're more interested in just getting through the game, probably not your piece of cake, but hey, if you just like going out and exploring the world, I believe this was the largest game world until Ultima 7, some 5 or 6 years later. In any case, next time I'll be playing a very different game. It will be a platformer with another out-of-this-world kind of theme to it, so I'll see you then.